Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. It's KepSquad Y2K here, and in this video we're going to discuss a relatively hot topic that's been going on in the Fortnite community, and it's in regards to the amount of players in current Fortnite matches. So for a long time now, there's been an issue of pacing, which I've talked about on this channel in prior videos, and on stuff that I thought were affecting pacing of matches. And one game that Fortnite has been compared to in regards to pacing is Warzone, and that comparison has been how good Warzone's pacing is compared to Fortnite. And one of the reasons that is Warzone matches has 150 players compared to Fortnite's standard 100, and recently they made the announcement that they're going to make matches have 200 players in them, an increase from the standard 150. So with that announcement, many Fortnite streamers and pros more so pushing Fortnite to increase their player count, because everybody knows really all game modes, specifically solos, the lobbies die out fairly quickly. And in a perfect world, yes, Fortnite would be able to add 150 or 200 players and it would be non-stop action. But the reality is, I really do not think that this could ever work in Fortnite. Now, I know a lot of players would want this to work, which is why a lot of players are asking for it. But the reality is that Fortnite and Warzone are such different games. Really, the only similarity is that they're both battle royales. That it works for Warzone to have 150, 200 players. It just wouldn't work for Fortnite for these reasons. And the obvious thing that people always point to, and what I'm pointing to, is the servers. Now, because Fortnite has the building mechanic that has made Fortnite famous, it makes the lobbies lag a lot more and puts a lot more stress on the servers. You see this particularly in competitive matches, and obviously most players are only saying that they want 150 and 200 players in public matches. But I feel like players don't really actually think about how much building actually goes into even standard matches. And if you think about the amount of building that goes on in just regular public matches, and then double it from 100 players to 200 players now doing all this building and editing that goes on, you would be putting a lot of serious stress on the servers. Now, I'm not a server expert, obviously, but any Fortnite player will tell you that they do occasionally experience lag, frame drops, and a bunch of other stuff in just regular public matches. So with that said, I don't think it would make it any better to add 100 or 50 more players and think that the servers are going to be better off after doing that. Now, if Fortnite fixed the technical issues with servers where they could do this and servers would be perfectly fine, then by all means add 150 to 200 players. But I'm just skeptical they could actually be able to do that. Wishful thinking would want me to think that, but if I'm being realistic, I don't think Fortnite could actually do it and for it to work server-wise. And the other thing you have to think about is that Warzone currently, I don't know what their future plans are. Warzone currently is only played on console and on PC, but just think about having 200 players in a Fortnite match on a Nintendo Switch or a Fortnite mobile. Think about the experience those players would face playing on a server with 200 players on 30 FPS or less. That would just be a terrible experience, and I just don't think that would be very fun for the players who play on Nintendo Switch or mobile, or even console for that matter. The second reason I don't believe this would work is simply for the fact that if Fortnite were to increase the lobbies to 150 or 200 players, there's no telling whether this would actually fix players dying out really early in matches. And the reason for that is, the reality is players don't land all spread apart in Fortnite matches. And it's been that way literally since the beginning of Fortnite. I remember when Tilted Towers was first added into the game, and certain players actually thought it was a problem because they thought Tilted Towers were the reasons why lobbies would die fast when they would die fast back in the day. It was because people thought that people would only land Tilted Towers and that would make all the other parts of the map dead, and everybody would just be dying in Tilted. That was an actual thing that people said back in the day. And it's true even now. Players don't land very spread apart. They just land at a few select POIs, and you have some players will land at some locations. But throughout all of Fortnite, there's never really been a huge amount of popular POIs that everybody's landing spread apart. Most players are going to land at 1 or 2 or maybe 3 popular central locations, and they're gonna die there. And that wouldn't change if you added more players. If you added more players, players are still gonna all land at the Authority or all land at the Mythic POIs, and it's just gonna be more RNG because there's not enough weapons to go around and more people are gonna die. Now, in my original video, when I discussed why this was an issue, I did discuss that the map was one of the problems and that there was a lack of POIs on the current map, and this is why pacing of matches are so poor. And I mean, one of the solutions I did bring up was bringing back the old map, which I believe did have a little more variety in places you can land and interesting POIs. I don't think Fortnite's going to be bringing back the old map, at least until, Fortnite Chapter 3. So that's probably not a viable solution. But I do believe there is a way for Fortnite to be able to fix the pacing and the occurrence of multiple players dying early on in matches. And that's in a way where they actually have already implemented in the game before. And that is in the gameplay that you are watching currently, that's playing on the screen right now, which is the John Wick Bounty game mode. Now, this game mode hasn't been added in a couple months now, but this game mode was where each player would spawn with a shotgun and a tactical SMG, and they would get 3 spawns in a given game. And this game mode was very high paced, very fun to play, and the lobbies in these game modes maxed at about like 70-ish players. But my idea is one way Fortnite would be able to fix pacing of matches, or at least try this out to be able to see if it could fix the pacing of matches, implementing the John Wick game mode settings into all current game modes. So what that would mean is that in every solo, duo, and squad game, each player would have the ability to spawn 3 times. So what this means is you would not be completely eliminated from the game until you've died 3 times in the match. So after your other 2 deaths, you are able to spawn back onto the map before you're completely eliminated. And another way they could even add to this that wasn't in the John Wick game mode is after your 3rd death, that's when your teammates in a duos or squads match would have the option of grabbing your reboot card. Same number of 100 players in a match, but you get 3 respawns, and then your teammates have the option of getting a reboot card. And you could possibly even implement some kind of self-res option in solo modes, somehow implementing some kind of a self-res mechanic or item into the game for solos. So those reboot vans that for some reason are on the map in solos, even though they have no purpose, could actually have a purpose if you added a self-res into the game. So I think this would be honestly a perfect solution to the pacing problem that Fortnite's been having for the past couple seasons now. And it wouldn't be a direct, copying of Warzone, which I wouldn't have a problem with. Fortnite copied reboot vans for Apex Legends. So I'm not one of those people that think copying things from other games is an issue. I just don't think that the mechanics in Warzone, such as the gulag mechanic, I don't think there's any way Fortnite can cleanly add them into the game. One of the reasons being that I feel like, for the average or below average player, I feel like it would be a turnoff to them to add, something like a gulag mechanic where little Timmy would just be getting bopped, not ever being able to get back in the game. I just don't think the mechanics in Warzone fit cleanly into Fortnite, but I think the option that Fortnite's already added into the game, but people, don't remember in the bounty game mode, if those mechanics were added into the core game mode, this would fix the pace automatically because every player would get 3 chances to be put onto the map plus being rebooted. And then obviously adding a self-res mechanic into solos would even fix the pacing in solos matches. Now this would all be implemented in only public matches, not competitive, but I think this would be a perfect solution to the problem Fortnite has been having, and I think something that many players would be happy to see how it would work. I think it's a much more rational option than adding many players into the map. I just couldn't see a possibility of Fortnite operating cleanly on a 150 or 200 player lobby, but I believe my idea of adding bounty mechanics into the core game mode would work perfectly. With all that said, I want to know, what do you guys think could fix the pacing of current Fortnite matches? Do you agree with my idea, or do you think Fortnite would be able to at least try to implement more players into the lobbies? Or do you guys have an idea of what could fix the pacing of current Fortnite matches? With all that said, don't forget to leave a like on the video, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to join the squad, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.